Hi there CRV owners. Today in your 2019 Honda CRV we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install CURT's Class 2 1 1/4 inch trailer hitch receiver. It's a Class 2 1 1/4 inch receiver that's going to be hidden beneath our bumper, so we only see the receiver sticking out the back. Now it does stick out kind of far, so it does detract a little bit from the looks of the vehicle. In comparison with the 2-inch receiver, it doesn't look quite as nice. The 2-inch seems to stick back a little bit further and hides itself a little bit better. But if you already have 1 1/4 inch accessories, this will be a great option to get you up and running with those accessories on your CRV. It uses a 1/2 inch hitch pin and clip. Now one doesn't come included with the hitch, but you can pick one up here at etrailer.com. It features hoop style safety chain loops on the bottom with a very large opening that should accommodate every shape, size, and style of safety chain with no problem. It features a 350-pound tongue weight, which is the force going down on top of your receiver, and that should be more than enough for a bike rack loaded up with 4 bikes, or if you want to bring a small trailer with you, such as a jet ski or something to the weekend, that should be no problem with this hitch. It also features a 3,500-pound gross towing capacity, which is how much it can pull behind it, and that should be more than enough for your smaller trailers like your jet ski trailer, maybe a small boat, or even a really small pop-up camper you could even take to the weekend with you on this. And now I've got some measurements for you to help you when deciding on accessories. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, it measures about 2 inches. And this is important when determining if any of your folding accessories can be placed in the upright storage position without contacting the bumper. And from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube, it measures about 13.5 inches. And this is important when determining if you need a drop, rise, or raise shank on any of your accessories. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's go over the installation together so you can have the confidence to do it at home. We'll begin our installation underneath the vehicle by lowering down the exhaust. Before we do so, we want to make sure we put a strap in place to support the exhaust so it doesn't come down too far and cause any damage. We'll then need to remove the rubber isolators. You'll have one at the rear of the vehicle on each side. We're going to spray the rubber hanger with some lubricant to make it slip off a little easier, and then we'll just use a pry bar to slide the rubber off. We'll then do the same thing on the other side. We'll then come forward some and you'll find another isolator just about at the same distance where your axle is, but it's going to be slightly on the passenger side. We're going to pry that one off too. We'll now begin feeding our hardware into the frame. You'll see that there's 2 small holes in the frame, and this is where our hardware is going to come down through. You'll also see that there's large holes next to those, and these are openings we can use to get our hardware fed into. Since this one's larger, this is going to be the easiest one to get the hardware in. Even though it might fit in this little one, I'm going to use the larger one anyway. And I'm going to start with the small hole furthest towards the front. I'm going to go in, feed it towards the large hole at the back, where I can easily pull down my wire. Then I can take the spacer that comes in the kit, slide it over the coiled end, and then thread the short carriage bolts that come in your kit. We're going to thread one into the coiled end. Now that we've got that in there, we can poke it up into the frame and then pull our fish wire back down through. We're then going to repeat this for this hole here using the same method, and then the 2 other holes on the opposite side in the exact same manner. We now need to trim out a section here at the back. We also trim out a small section from our undershield. Now this is optional. As far as trimming this out, it does mention in there it'll ease installation, but looking at it here, it's going to make a big difference on how easy the installation is, so I definitely recommend it because it's just a small amount of trimming. To make it easier to trim, we're going to pull the panel down. So there's 3 pins located here we're going to take out, and there is another pin a little bit further towards the front. Those pop out by first popping out the center section using a flat-bladed screwdriver or trim panel tool. So just push that between the 2 pieces there, and then you can pop that down. Once you've got the center section popped down, you can just pull the pin out. This one looks a little different, but it still operates in the same way. Pop down the center. And then pull the rest out. We're going to go ahead and get those other couple pins out now. And then on the corner of the under panel towards the front of the vehicle, you'll have a nut on each side. We'll use a 10mm socket to remove that nut. We can then pull our panel down so we can trim it out. We'll then take our scissors and we're going to cut out the area we marked. The little notch that's here, we're pretty much cutting it to about the same distance on the other side to kind of make a notch. You can find these measurements in your instructions. And we're just going to cut it out using a pair of scissors, as it's just cloth. Okay. I'm just going to clean out the edge. And now that we've got this trimmed out, we can trim out our fascia. We can now cut out our fascia. I've gone ahead and marked it out here. You'll want to refer to your instructions for the exact measurements on how to cut it out. And then we're just going to use a rotary disc here to cut that out. And now we can go back and clean up our edges here with either a razor knife or a file. We've gone ahead and put the lower panel back up. When we put it back up, we did leave out the clips located here and here because we are going to need to pull out on the fascia in order to get our hitch up. If you need a little bit more flexibility on your fascia when lifting your hitch up, you can pull these clips out on the corners as well, and that'll let you flex it out even further. There we go. And now with the next set of hands, we'll lift our hitch up above our exhaust and feed our fish wires down through the slotted holes that match up with the holes in our frame. Then pull out on the bottom of your fascia and tuck your hitch up behind the fascia. We can then take our large bolt that comes in our kit. We're going to slide it through the center hole at the back of the hitch so it can rest down on the centerpiece there to hold itself up. On the opposite side, we'll place our spacer and then our large flange nut. This will hold our hitch up and keep it in place, making it easier to get the rest of our hardware installed. We can then go back to our side bolts, take our fish wires off, and then carefully thread our smaller flange nuts onto our hardware. Want to make sure we don't push those back up into the frame. We'll then repeat that for the remaining bolt on this side and the other two on the other side. We can then go back and tighten down our hardware. We're going to start with our side bolts and use a 17mm socket to tighten those down. Then we'll come back and use a 19mm socket for our center bolt. And then we'll go back and torque all that hardware to the specifications found in our instructions. With our hitch torqued down, we can then reinstall our exhaust and our under shield in reverse order. We'll put these couple of pins back in. We'll then reinstall the pins underneath. We'll then reinstall our exhaust. So use some lubricant on the rubber isolator to help get your exhaust slid back in. Lift it up and line it up with the holes, and then it'll just push right back on. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We can then use the strap we were using to ensure our exhaust didn't fall down. And we're ready to hook up our favorite accessory and hit the road. And that completes our installation of CURT's Class 2 1 1/4 inch trailer hitch receiver on our 2019 Honda CRV.